Eric Lesser, Democratic candidate for lieutenant governor, is our guest. Let's go on the record. Leading in fundraising but trailing in the polls, can the state senator from Western Massachusetts rally voters to his campaign? The candidate is here to make his case.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR. I'm Janet Wu. Ed Harding is off this week. We're pleased to have State Senator Eric Lesser with us. He has served the 1st Hampden and Hampshire district since 2015. He'd like to be the state's next lieutenant governor. He was the White House advisor during the Obama administration, a resident of Longmeadow. He holds degrees from Harvard and Harvard Law School. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jen. Happy Juneteenth.
Thank you very much. Let's go right to it. The top concern right now for all of us is inflation, fueled in a large part by gas prices.
Yeah.
Is it time to suspend the gas tax?
Well, first, we've got a lot of challenges in the economy right now, right? We've got inflation going up. We have housing prices going up. Young parents are getting crushed by the cost of childcare. So there's a lot of challenges. I think it's appropriate to suspend the gas tax if we can do two things at the same time. Protect the state's bond rating, which we have indication we can. And the second thing that's very important is to preserve the funding streams for our infrastructure projects, our desperately needed road projects, bridge projects across the state. So I think that there's a plan we can put in place where, for example, you transfer money from the rainy day fund or from the surplus account to backfill, and that could give some relief to drivers.
Well, you know, you're on Beacon Hill, you're a state senator. Why haven't you done it so far? What's holding things up?
Well, we're working on, and again, I would be prepared to enthusiastically vote for a proposal that does that.
Why not lead the fight and try to get this done?
We've been outspoken, and I've been outspoken with leadership as well, that we've got to do a couple things at once. We've got to give relief to drivers, and we've got to maintain the state's bond rating, and we've got to maintain those funding streams for projects. Janet, we've seen interest rates going up. You can't jeopardize the state's bond rating in an environment like that. You know, I think the holdup is getting the coordination and getting the agreement together in the legislature to make that happen, and we've been working on that. And that's something that you've got to do in a legislature. You've got to work with diverse people from different regions of the state to get everybody on the same page, and we're working on that.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what about the other tax cuts that Governor Baker has proposed? Cut tax breaks for seniors, renters, low-income wage earners, and short-term investors on the other end of the economic scale. Do you support any of those things?
Several of them I'm a very enthusiastic supporter of. For example, the tax credits for seniors struggling with rising property tax rates, especially as housing prices have gone up. That's very important. Also, anything we could do to provide more relief to renters. The child care credits are also very important for young families right now who are struggling to pay daycare bills or find slots at all. So there's a lot in there that I think is good and that we should be working on. There are some other things that I think are probably not the right thing to do right now.
I want to talk a little bit about what's going on nationally. The White House insists that there is little it can do to fight inflation, since oil is really traded on the global market. And it already is releasing, the White House is already releasing 1 million barrels of oil a day from the U.S. reserves. What else do you think President Biden should be doing that he's not doing yet?
Well, it's not really my place to talk about President Biden. I'm running for lieutenant governor in Massachusetts, so let me offer just some concrete examples of what we can do in Massachusetts to tackle inflation. Just a couple of examples. We know one of the biggest drivers of costs here in Massachusetts is the cost of childcare. So we've got to do a lot more to expand training pipelines, expand capacity in our childcare system to help bring costs down. We also know a very big driver of costs here in Massachusetts is housing. We see rents skyrocketing, we see housing prices going up and up. I helped put together the coalition that got the biggest zoning reform done in 40 years. We've got to bring that online. The Baker administration still hasn't implemented big parts of that law. We could get thousands of units of housing built and in the pipeline today just by speeding up that zoning reform law, helping get it improved. So I think, you know, we've got to focus on what we can do in Massachusetts, which is help bring those costs of childcare down, help bring those housing prices down, and continue to just work on livability in our state because it's getting very hard for people.
You're one of the leading fighters for an east-west rail here in Massachusetts, which we've funded primarily with federal dollars. But the state really struggles to run the trains it already runs, like the MBTA and the commuter rail system. Federal officials say it's dysfunctional, it's ignoring safety problems. If elected lieutenant governor, What new ideas do you have for that?
Yeah, so first, the federal report that came out is scathing and really it's bone chilling when you see just the depth of the deficiencies. I agree with Jim Rooney, who said, we've got to be measuring outputs, not just inputs into the system. And something that was very clear about that federal report is that it's a management and an accountability issue. You had trained dispatchers that were working 20-hour shifts. You had critical safety oversight
So what
roles
would
that
you
were left
do
unfilled.
if elected Lieutenant
We've
Governor?
got to work with the legislature to streamline accountability at the T. We've got to work on making sure that there's much better oversight of the existing systems, and we've got to do the hiring and the capacity building to fill in those vacant positions. And by the way, Jenna, because I know where the question's going, expansion of the system does not come at the cost of safety. It's a given that we have to make the changes to keep the T safe. That is priority number one. But the report made clear it's not a funding issue, it's a management and oversight issue. In fact, expanding to new places like Western Mass strengthens the T because it brings in new riders, brings in new energy, brings in new communities, ties more of our state together economically.
But has the legislature fallen down on its job by not pushing the administration to do all these things that you're talking about? You're a member of the legislature.
Yeah.
Have you guys fallen down on the job a bit on this?
No, I don't think so. We've actually given Governor Baker every tool he's asked for at the T, including the Fiscal Control Board, which I supported.
So it's solely just an administrative
It's very clear, and I think I think you saw the comments from both the federal investigation and the comments that others have made in the Boston area that this is a management and accountability issue. They keep pointing to the money that's being spent, but the reality of it is there's all kinds of money that hasn't been spent because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the staffing to do the proper oversight. So I think, frankly, the focus has got to be on streamlining accountability, improving the management, and improving the lines of communication.
Let's talk a little bit about your own campaign. You've got more than 10 times the money in the bank of your two Democratic opponents, over $1 million the last time I checked, yet you are not leading in the polls and you failed to win the state convention's endorsement just a couple weeks ago. Are your financial supporters from out-of-state relationships developed over your Obama years the main reason why you've got as much money as you do?
That's factually not true, Janet. The vast majority of my support comes from within Massachusetts.
What,
in fact,
60, 70%?
Over 70%. And
Okay.
in fact, it comes from more than 100 different communities around the state, including every county in every region of our state. And I view that support as an individual endorsement that each person, community member is making in supporting our campaign. You know better than anyone, Janet, there's almost no correlation between the winner of the convention and the ultimate winner on primary day, let alone on the general election day. And the campaign has just started. We're going to be getting out all over the summer. We're going to be going all over to communities, talking about the need to connect our state, the need to have that perspective, that statewide perspective from Western Mass, not just to lift up the region, the outlying regions that are often forgotten in our Commonwealth, but also to help improve and strengthen Boston and Greater Boston as a way to reduce housing costs, as a way to connect our state through better transportation, to take on childcare. So the polls also show, by the way, that the vast majority of voters have no opinion on any of us because the campaign has just started. So I think we're in a great position, and at the end of the day, what my job is to do is to get out and to share my vision with as many people as possible.